right, number one here, the idea, like we talked about yesterday, learn to play what's there. You can do it at 60, you can do it faster. Learn to play what's there, identify what all the intervals are, and you need to do that in order to change them into the other 7 modes. So identify what that first mode is, and you can hit the letter T on the keyboard, hit the letter T to bring up the text box and write, input what that mode is. And it's best to include the Roman numeral associated with that mode. It's like the 1, the 2, the 3, So this way you continue to say this is what happens in this position. Like this mode is in position 1, or this mode is in position 3, this mode is in position 7, and so on. And then you associate those modes with the chords that happen in those same positions. At least that's what we're going to keep doing over and over and over again. Repetition as much as we need to until you do start recalling this is what happens here, this is what happens here, happens here, and so on. So in order to make things more challenging, more interesting, what I recommend doing is go look up random number generator online and just put in 1 through 7. 1 is the lowest number, 7 is the highest. And of course you got to figure out, well, what mode is that first one? Put the correct Roman numeral there. And then, hit your random number generator, and whatever one comes up next, make that the next mode. And we don't want to duplicate any of the modes. So if you get a 3 that comes up more than once when you do the random generator, well, don't use 3 again. Just keep generating the next number until you get a brand new one. So there's an idea to make things more interesting. So with number 2, speaking of random, so I have, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but basically I did use a random number generator to kind of randomly place things around, and then I noticed that some stuff seemed a little bit too conveniently one after the next, so I manually randomized a bit more. So basically, you got 14 things here. 14 things you need to label in terms of the modes, but also the chords. So we can take this step at a time. Easiest thing to do, I think, is what we started yesterday. And that's fill in the chords. If you need to, just fill in the chord names. Especially if it's like that B diminished where you can't remember what the chord is. But yeah, put in the chord names, put in the chords. But now that I think about it, we are not using any chords with weird names. So probably best to tab out what the chord is first, then enter the chord name. And if you tabbed out the chord properly, you will have the correct name generated, auto-generated. So I would put the chord names in the chords, so tab out the chords and put in the chord names first. And then, let's say come up to the top here. I got to change the setting so you can see the text box. So when you hit your text box, you're going to see that the Roman numeral that's there is highlighted when you open the text box. So in order to keep that Roman numeral there, what I want you to do, just hit your arrow key to the right, and then, like it says down here, Control plus return for a new line. Well, hit Control, hold Control, and hit Enter. You can do that a second time to make it even more legible. But hold Control and hit Enter. Remember, after you've unhighlighted things. Let me do it one more time. So you get your cursor at the start of the bar, hit the letter T, bring up your text box, hit the right arrow key. So this way you get rid of the highlight. We don't want to delete anything. Then you're going to hold Control, hit Enter twice, and then you type in the mode name. There you go. So I want you to do that. So again, we're going to start with putting in the chords and labeling the chords. After you have done that, you're going to input the mode name. And then, once you've done that, you get to make up strumming patterns. I want you to make a unique strumming pattern for each line. So what I mean by that, you can have the same strumming pattern for each bar here. For this one, just hit it once and you're done. We just need to resolve the chords. So just leave it as a whole note. Let's simplify the process that way. Leave each of these as a whole note. You don't need to change the rhythmic value at all. But over here, yes, I want you to think up a unique strumming pattern for each line. Not each bar, each line. You can do each bar if you really want to, but that's a lot of stuff. So some kind of strumming pattern for this one, a different strumming pattern for this, a different strumming pattern for this, and so on. So, knowing how to do some kind of sight reading is very, very helpful in this instance. But, you know, you got 8th notes and 16th notes, and you can do triplets as well. But you want to make sure this left panel is open so you can more easily see the note values being used here. So whole note, that's the longest sounding one. Half note, that gets two beats held out. Quarter note, 1 beat. 8th note, you can have 2 per beat. 16th note, you can have 4 per beat. These two I wouldn't even bother with. That's a 32nd note and a 64th note. 32nd note is 8 notes a click. 64th note is 16 a click. So forget that. You just want to stick with these. And if you do triplets, you want that guy on. So, I think not only will this be a good learning experience for the modes and chord review, but you're going to be learning about rhythm too. Good stuff. Any questions that come up, let me know. And take your time with it. You do not need to finish all this in the week. Whatever you don't get done, we will work on together when we meet up next time. All right. See you then.